Hello and welcome to the two-man power trip of wrestling. I am your host, JP John Paz. With me today is a former ECW original. He was a member of the Baldies, of course, a member of the Carnage crew as well, and a former Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champion. He is, of course, Tony Devito. Tony, welcome to the two-man
What's
power trip. How you doing?
what's going on, man? Been you've been trying to get me for a while here, and I'm real
Yeah,
excited. So.
finally. Finally, yeah. You won't remember this, but like 20 years ago, I used to drive PJ around, just incredible. Buddy of mine forever. Literally, he lived the town over. So sometimes I drive to the shows with him. You were training Massive and Cheech
Oh
at,
wow!
at this point. So I
Yeah,
used to see you all the time. You probably wouldn't remember that, but I used to see you guys all the time. Obviously, the heyday of the Carnage crew.
yeah, no doubt. No, I'm sorry, man. I don't remember that, but like you said, CTE could be playing a big part into that.
It might be kicking in. You never know.
Yeah.
So what have you been up to? What's been going on in your world?
My world is pretty much. I work for the post office now, man. I'm a mailman. I friggin' sit in a truck all day. I deliver mail. It's pretty friggin' cool. So
Different
that's
than wrestling career.
different than pro wrestling, a little bit different, man. But it's a pretty cool gig, and it's got a retirement at the end, which is pretty cool.
Nice pension. Yeah, my uncle or great uncle was a mailman. He got a nice pension and everything. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
nice.
yeah, it's nice.
Anybody recognize you? Like, hey, this guy's a wrestler. He's my postman. Like, anybody get that?
Word gets around a little bit, and a couple people know, but not many. Once they get to know me a little bit better, it kind of comes out. But not really, man. Down here in Florida, because I'm in Florida now. I'm not in New York. If I was in New York, it'd probably be a lot different. But in Florida, they don't know nothing. They don't know nothing down here.
How'd you end up like at the post office? How'd you end up working there?
Man, I moved to Florida 5 years ago, and I was out hurt from the job I was at, and I said, my wife hated her job, and we both said, man, let's get the hell out of New York. Let's move to Florida. It's nice out. I hate the cold, and we came down here with nothing. She quit her job, and like I said, I was on comp, and I got fixed. I got better, and I just searched for jobs down here, man, and I came across the post office, applied, and I got it.
Not easy to get into, right? I mean, you got to pass all these tests and know this and know
Yeah,
that,
you
and
gotta
also,
you gotta pass the test, but it's like a memory test, which is crazy that I did pretty good on the memory test because I couldn't remember we were doing this interview, but
yeah.
I did good on the memory test.
Hey, it happens. It happens to everybody. Yeah.
But I used to think like, oh man, like the post office, that's pretty cool. Like I used to think pretty highly of it, and then once I got in, and I realized they'll fucking hire anybody.
It's like Newman from Seinfeld. The mail
Yeah, it's like
never
new.
stops. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, and we have a few of those guys. It's crazy. True life.
Yeah, hopefully not like Son of Sam or anything like that.
No, none of some. Well, I don't know, man. You never know. You do never know.
You never know who's
Hopefully
going to
not.
So, any specific reason, like you want to stick with it, or you're just like, this pays the bills. I'm just gonna run its
Yeah, I
course.
mean, to me, it was just I had to get something down here in Florida, and I figured I'd take whatever I could get. And then once I started looking to the post office, I've always done kind of delivery type jobs in the past. Anyway, even when I was wrestling, I worked. I delivered Pepsi. I delivered beer. I've had a snack route. I've had a bread route. I've had. I used to deliver from Nabisco, so I've had a lot of jobs where I did deliveries. So the post office, I never thought of it before, and then I just applied. I saw it, they were hiring. I applied, and that was it, man. So now that I know what kind of job it is, and they pay pretty well, and the retirement and all that, I really wish I found it when ECW went out of business. That's what I really wish I did, because
Right.
I'd have 20 years in by now.
Yeah, for sure. And you'd be able to retire sooner and get all
Yeah, a
that
lot
extra.
sooner.
Yeah. So, as far as wrestling, are you still wrestling down there at all? Or you completely done? You retired?
Yeah, I mean, I'll do a little bit here and there. Like me and Loke did a show for ICW No Holds Barred back in WrestleMania weekend for Danny DeManto. Different kind of show for us. It's like a death match show, and we're not really into the death match part of it. But we'll go out there and brawl and fight and do that type of stuff. But I'm not into the glass and things like that. I mean, I don't think Loke's going to do it either. I mean, because I'd shit all over him if he did it. But you know what? To each his own. But it was a cool. It was really cool to get in there and do that. And that was like New Jack's last match before he passed away too. He teamed with us that night, which was pretty cool. But I do a little bit down here. There's a guy that runs down here. He's taking a little hiatus right now, but he's looking to get back going. That's called Go Wrestle, and I do a little bit of that down here. Frank Goodman runs a couple shows, USA Pro. He hasn't ran since the pandemic, but if he does come back, I'm going to get on that show too.
Nice.
I kind of
Stay
pick,
in shape.
yeah, I just pick and choose. I don't do much. It's hard. It's hard to travel and work the post office gig at the same time. I work Saturdays most weeks, so my Fridays and Saturdays are pretty much taken up. So, I'm not in my 20s anymore.
Right. Yeah. You not inducive to the full-time wrestling life anymore.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah. Plus, my body couldn't take the full time anymore, and I need a knee replacement. The neck is pretty jacked up, and I got issues, but I could still go out and do it if I wanted to.
Now, I just came across, it was great, an old picture of you and PJ. I guess he was PJ Walker. You're just Tony DeVito.
Yeah.
WWF Enhancement match behind you guys, though, your opponents, the Steiner brothers. I know PJ always says that, oh, they're light as a feather, but then I'm like, come on. He goes, no, they kill you. So were they stiff, the Steiners? Because I saw that pop up on my Twitter. I'm like, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, like they were there, you know what I'm saying? But they weren't like stiff where they were going to hurt you, but they were definitely snug, which I'm okay with. Snug, I'm fine. PJ, he likes guys that are like feathers, I like the snugness, and he ended up liking it later on, like in his ECW days. He was definitely a little more of a snug type guy, but back in those days, oh, I thought this was supposed to be fake, that type of stuff. But I like it snug, so I'm a fan of that.
Did you take the Steiner screwdriver? I'm trying to remember. Or did you?
No, he did.
PJ did. Okay.
Yeah, PJ took the screwdriver. Yeah. Nobody really, a lot of guys didn't take that move because nobody could take it. But PJ could take it. He was nice straight up and down. And yep. PJ was a hell of a worker, man. He doesn't get any credit for the work he does.
Yeah, he was awesome. I remember when he was ECW champion, they were saying one of the best in the business. It's like, finally, this guy gets some credit. He's been good for years.
Yeah, he got credit then too, but I don't think he still got what he deserved. Like he went out there and he put on great matches every night, man.
I agree. Underrated for sure. Yeah. Underappreciated. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you get into the business overall? Like, who trained you? Is it really Dr. D. David Schultz? Can that actually be true?
Yeah, it's 100% true, man. David Schultz trained me. I went to Orange, Connecticut to Passarella's Quest Gym, and Dr. D was the trainer, man. And I went in for a session, and that's it, man. I signed right up. I mean, I knew I was going to sign up anyway, but that was it. He gave you one free class.
I talk to him once in a while. Seems like he's a nice guy, but he's definitely out there a little bit as far as just his personality. Like, he could be a little ornery, but maybe he just doesn't seem like the trainer type. Like, he's not like Dominic DeNucci, who seems like that grandfather role. Like, I'll train you, I'll teach you. He doesn't give me that kind of vibe that he's like going to be a trainer. So how was it training under him?
I mean, I thought it was pretty cool. I didn't know anything else at the time. So, I mean, we loved it, Plus, he was David Schultz. He slapped the shit out of John Stossel. I mean, it was pretty cool. He had a lot of, he had a lot behind him, a lot of hype. And he was cool as hell to us, though. He was a really cool dude. And we got along with him real well. And, we'd hear his stories, his bounty hunting stories he'd tell us about. There'd be weeks where he wasn't there because he was bounty hunting. But, he'd come back, tell us the stories. It was pretty cool having him. Old school psychology we were taught, how to work the old school way, which was pretty cool because that's a lost art.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah.
You follow current wrestling at all? Just curious? Because
I do.
It's definitely a lost art.
Yeah, I like AEW better than I like WWE at this point. So I do follow that. Plus, I got friends there still that I'm pretty proud of. Bobby Fish just got hired there. It's one of my guys, and there's a few dudes there I know from Ring of Honor, so it's pretty cool to see these guys actually in the top spotlight again. Even though they did well in WWE for themselves, Punk especially, but just to see the guys that I've helped out, throughout those years, kind of try to, finally make it, or guys that I've had, a lot of friendships with, it's pretty cool.
I forgot for a second that I was talking about Massive and Cheech and those guys.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you're maybe your most prized student, Bobby Fish, of course.
Yeah.
Jerk Jackson, of course. Yeah.
Jerk Jackson, yeah, because he was around during that time too, I would assume.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, we tried to, you know, it's funny because if you could remember too, I was doing Ring of Honor, like you said, and I'd bring all these guys to those shows, and I'd always be like, Gabe, you got to book these guys, you got to book these guys. And he always found an excuse not to book these guys. But now, you know, then Bobby Fish becomes what he is at this point. You know, he didn't want to book him back in the day. He did eventually. You know, I think it was after I was gone, though, Fish got it shot in Ring of Honor. So same with Cheech and Cloudy and,
Yep.
you know, a bunch of guys, Massive.
It's funny. It's funny, like Massive, probably the biggest one of the bunch, but Cheech gets a shot, but it's like with Cloudy and it's with Special K. Like
Yeah.
he wasn't like, I don't know. Sometimes Gabe, just come on, you got to give these guys a shot. I know with Loke, he gave you and Loke a big shot, but it's funny. It's like, come on, I'm bringing you these students, use them, Gabe.
Yeah, you know, Dunn and Marcus were Loke's guys too. Like those
Yeah.
guys got a shot through through Loke. You know, I mean, it's not that, you know, Gabe did try guys. It's just that there was such a full roster back in those days too. It was kind of hard to work people in on these shows. You know, but I think they each got a little bit of work here and there. You know, Turtle and Diablo Santiago, Outcast Killers, they got a shot there. They went to Embassy for a little bit. They're my guys too. So you know, he did put our guys on these shows, so I can't fault him for all that, you know. But who would have thought back then I'm pushing Fish, and you know, now he is what he is, but he wouldn't get a shot back then, really, you know.
Yeah, it's funny, and you think like he might be the best of the bunch just because the way it turned out, he just became great, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, don't forget Xavier too. He was probably, well, he might have been around back in that day, I guess. He kind of went AWOL for a while, did his own stuff down with the New York crew, and then we hooked back up years later again, you know.
Yeah. So with Bobby Fish, are you just surprised at all, like to see like, okay, he's in NXT, he's a star, he's in AEW, he's a star, or you're not surprised you saw that written on him from day
No, I'm
one?
not. Oh, you mean that he made it finally,
Yeah,
or
yeah, like he really made it.
you know, I don't know if you ever look at a guy like, we're all pretty average size, you know, we're all 5'8" guys. None of us are giants. None of us are these big muscular dudes. You know, he's in great shape, but he's not this big muscular guy. So I don't even know to tab anybody as, oh, this guy's going to make it. It's so hard because of our physical stature at that point. You know, you don't know what WWE is going to think of you and things like that. I mean, the guy worked hard. He went to Japan, made a hell of a career in Japan. So I'm not surprised that he did make it because of the reason, you know, he did all that on his own. He went to Japan on his own. I didn't get a shot to go to Japan, you know, and he went and he made it happen for himself. So that's not surprising, but you know, yeah, being in class, I guess at first it's surprising if any of us make it at that point, you know?
Right. With Dr. D. David Schultz, him training, what do you take with you when you were training? Because you mean you trained all these guys that made it to different levels. Obviously, you
Yeah.
know, Bobby Fish maybe made it further than anybody, but all these guys are making it to a certain extent to somewhere. So do you take what Dr. D trained you and do you kind of bring it forward? And like what do you bring forward?
Yeah, the old school aspect of you know, shooting and knowing how to protect yourself in the ring, that's the part that Dr. D instilled in me anyway. But I think I would have had that because I was an amateur wrestler, which so when I discovered pro wrestling, you know, I was around 10 to 12 years old, somewhere in that range. I think I was in 6th grade. You know, I said to myself, well, I'm going to be in junior high next year. And they had a wrestling team. I said, well, shit, I might as well go out for the wrestling team because I'm going to be a pro wrestler. So I said, I might as well join the wrestling team and learn how to wrestle because I figured it would help out at some point. So, and it really did, you know, that's the part about like Doc showing us how to protect ourselves professional wrestling wise. And I knew how to shoot because of amateur style wrestling. So it was a combination of both that I instilled in all my guys.
Nice.
Yeah.
So Dr. D though, is he one of those guys that he wants to exhaust you? Because you always hear there's two different kind of trainers, the ones that kind of nurture you, but they can be tough, but then the other ones that literally just don't want you to make it to a certain point and they're going to exhaust you before you even step foot in the ring. Was Dr. D like that at all?
He was neither one of those guys, to be
Oh,
honest with
okay.
you. Yeah, he was neither one of those guys. Doc was, I'm not going to say he was there to get a paycheck. I think he cared about us guys, but I also think that he just kind of was there to collect the money also.
Right.
You know, I don't know how much, I don't know how long he trained guys. You know, I know he trained like the Power Twins. They were a couple big twins back in the day. Yeah, he really, not a lot of guys came through his school that really amounted to anything, which is not saying anything about his training. I mean, I thought he did a great job doing the training still. but just not that many guys came out of that school that really did anything in this business. Yeah, it's weird. He wasn't on top. You know, he knew if we were fucking around, he knew. Like, he didn't even have to look at the ring. He knew if we weren't doing things correctly just by the sound of that ring. And that's something that holds true to me to this day right now. I can hear in the ring if you took a good bump or if you did something right, you can hear it. And that part he knew. And he'd tell us, God damn it, do it again. And be like, Doc, you weren't even watching. He does, I don't give a fuck, do it again. So I guess in that aspect, he would just keep us going and going and going until we got it right. And that is something that I installed in guys too. I have them keep doing things until I get it right. I'm one of them guys. I want those basics down, because if you don't have those basics down, how can you move on to be a pro wrestler? I don't care if you could do a moonsault and a flip and land on your feet. That's cool. But can you take a bump? Can you hit the ropes? Can you can you do all the basics that you're supposed to do? Because the basics are the number one factor in the whole business itself. That's number one thing.
It's funny. A lot of the good trainers always say that basics and fundamentals, basic. Yeah. That's what they kind of preach.
And that's what trainers should be installing in their guys. Anything else is on the guy itself. I'm not going to go in there and show you how to do a moonsault, like I said before, but I'll show you how to throw a punch. I'll show you how to take a bump properly. I'll show you how to feed. I'll show you how to hit the ropes. I'm going to show you all the basic moves and fundamentals you need, and you're going to keep doing them and doing them and doing them until you get it right. And certain people quit because of that. Yeah. So I guess going back to David Schultz, he did do to us.
Got to know the basics and the fundamentals. Got it.
Yeah, you got to.
So how do you go from training with him to doing indies to end up on WWE TV or WWF TV really and doing like enhanced matches and stuff? How does that happen?
So, Doc had been training us for 6 months, whatever it had been by the time I was in his class, 8 months. And he finally kind of said to us, listen, guys, I'm pretty much blackballed in this business. I'm having a real hard time getting you guys any kind of work, because I guess he was trying, but he didn't have connections anymore. He was bounty hunting, he was doing his own stuff. Wrestling was in the past for him, except for the training. But during that time, the gym was being sold to this woman. So she bought the gym, and Paul Roma, who lived in that area, also had just started getting into boxing at that point. And somehow he trained at that gym also, but he trained with Tony Altomore long time before that. Probably back in the early 80s, I'm assuming he trained. Tony Altomore had a school in that same building. And so she bought the gym and she moved it to a bigger building. She kind of made like a little boxing area, and she set up Paul in there with the boxing area. And somehow Schultz met up with Roma, and he talked him into coming in and helping us out. And Paul came in and he started training us. So Doc kind of slid out of the picture and Roma came in the picture. And that really was it. Paul hooked us up, man. He still had connections with WWF at the time, and he hooked us up. He called, I don't know who he called. I don't know if he called Tony Gurria, Chief J Strongbow. Not really sure the details of it. All I knew is he said, okay, you guys are going to TV, and boom, that was it. We went. So Paul Roma hooked us up with that.
What's the experience like? Are you like getting dressed in the locker room? Like, how are you treated backstage by some of the guys?
Everybody was pretty cool. You kind of, you're brand new, you're green, you keep your mouth shut, you listen, you pay attention, and you talk when people speak to you. And but overall, the vibe was weird, because now you are in the land of the giants. I've been in one locker room at that point. I wrestled one match, and Roma got us on TV not too long after that. So
wow.
We were so green going in. It was me, Mike Bell, PJ Walker, Nick Barbary, which was a friend of PJ's. We just started going to TVs.
It's pretty cool though, because you're on there with like Bam Bam and the Steiners and Mr. Perfect. You know what I mean? It's awesome to have that experience and wrestle those guys. And hey, you're on TV too.
Yeah, we're on TV. And like I said, we were green. We're learning. So that's where we learned. That's where we cut our teeth. And certain guys, helped you out. Took you under the wing, helped you out, taught you stuff. So that was pretty cool. I guess I was at the tail end of that part of it, because not a lot of guys are doing that anymore these days. So
no, not at all.
Yeah.
Were you getting paid well to do those? Or
yeah, they were $150 a night back in that day, and they paid you trans and for your car mileage. hotels. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a nice little setup you got going.
Yeah,
And you get on TV
you
and
went
everything
on the
else.
road
Yeah.
for like you went on the road for like 3 days with them. It was usually Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday tapings or Monday, Tuesday tapings, whatever it was. And you were on the road for a few days with the WWF, so it was pretty cool.
How do you then get noticed by Paul Heyman and ECW? I mean, we're going forward a little bit, but how do you kind of get noticed? You just working indies and doing your thing?
Yeah, I had never met Paul before. Tommy Dreamer had gotten a tryout match in Westchester at the county center, at the White Plains County Center. So I met Tommy Dreamer that night. We talked quite a bit that night. I don't think he worked that night. I can't remember, but that's the first time I met Dreamer. From there, I did well. Earl, I'm sorry, my first ever show. I met a bunch of guys. I met Taz. I met Joey Styles. I worked for Tony Capone, the NAWA, and he had a bunch of dudes on that show, a bunch of ECW guys. But anyway, I met Dreamer at that show. So ECW started coming around. I got the TV. I said, "Oh, this is a pretty cool place. I wanna try this out." They came to Middletown Fairgrounds in New York one night, and I just went. I just went. I showed up. I saw Dreamer. We started talking. I asked him, "Hey, could you introduce me to Paul?" He introduced me to Paul, and we talked for a brief minute, and that was really it. So that was probably 90. I don't know, 97. So I really didn't get into ECW 2 years later. So PJ, just incredible. He went from doing jobs and he went to, he got hired and he was Aldo Montoya and he went to Memphis, did some USWA stuff. And then he kind of came into ECW. And once he got into ECW and he started getting over, Paul gave him a push. He liked him. I was friends with PJ. I started going back to the shows again, started working out in the ring. I was pretty fat at the time. I was probably 280, 285. And I decided, well, I got to change things up. And I started dieting and I started getting into shape. And I dropped 80 pounds in like 3 months and the whole company noticed. And I think that's really, being friends with PJ and working my ass off there, they finally took notice. And that's when I got hired by ECW.
What did you think when you first got in? You were like, man, this is crazy because you always hear all the stories. Oh, they're partying. I mean, it's family atmosphere for the most part, but they're crazy. Their drugs are aplenty. The crazy atmosphere. All the guys are nuts. What did you think when you first got in?
I mean, I didn't care about any of that stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
None of that bothers me, man. That's why I can't get into what wrestling is and society these days because nothing bothered us back then. That didn't matter. Nothing offended me.
right.
Nothing bothered.
Yeah,
So anyway, I thought it was awesome. Like just being able to do the WWE things back in that time. Of course, my goal was always to get hired by a company. So when I finally got to ECW and I clicked with a lot of those guys because I'm probably a misfit with them also. And that's how come I fit into ECW. But it was like family getting in there. Everybody was awesome. Everybody wanted everyone to succeed and do well, and we tried looking out for each other. And it was a family atmosphere. But it was awesome when I finally knew I had a spot there and I belonged. It was awesome.
when you first get there, they always say ECW, you're doing other jobs besides just being a wrestler. Did you have other jobs, and what were your other jobs that you
Yeah.
kind of were assigned?
Yeah, so I ended up helping out in ring crew for a few months. I did it for a while. Me, Angel, HC Lope did ring crew for a while. It was just what Tommy was able to do to get us into that company, and he got us guaranteed paydays, and you used to get paid to set up the ring, and you also got paid to wrestle, so you could make double the money that night, which was pretty cool.
Did Tommy do a lot of the not office work, but a lot of the in charge stuff rather than Paul, or was Paul more front and center?
I mean, I think overall Paul was the boss, but Tommy had a lot of input. Tommy had a lot of pull. If there was a spot and he liked you and he wanted to get you in somewhere, he could get you in somewhere. And, that's pretty much how it worked. I mean, Paul was definitely the boss, but Tommy had a lot to do with it.
Who did you deal with a lot more, Tommy or Paul?
Well, I dealt with both pretty evenly, I think.
With ECW kind of the way it was, what did you think at this point? Like they're doing great, or are you starting to see some chinks in the armor? Because at this point, we still think that they're highly successful in '99, of course.
Yeah, think about it. I mean, we started doing way bigger crowds than we were doing. Like even in the heyday of ECW, they weren't doing the crowds that we were doing at that point, and then until the end of ECW. You know, we were drawing 5,000 people to some shows, depending where we were going. But we had great crowds. You know, like we were building our business. Um, you know, the downfall was that Paul had to sign these guys to contracts. You know, and guys that had contracts and guaranteed money, that was the tough part, because now you're guaranteeing these guys, and there's money coming in, but there's also money being paid out to the guy that, you know, financially supported our pay-per-views. And trust me, he came to collect his money on those days, and he got his fucking money. And you know, but there was a lot of other things. You know, we were doing record business for ECW though at that point, so it was surprising that, you know, the end came as it did for us too.
Who was the money man? Who was the guy?
I don't want to give names.
Is it known though? I feel like
I think it's known. I mean,
okay.
you know, it's not like it's a, you know, it's not like it's a, you know, a mob related thing or anything, but yeah, I'm pretty sure it's known his name. I just, you know, I'd rather not say it.
With like pay-per-views and stuff, plus you don't get the money right away for the pay-per-views when you sell them. So if ECW has a successful pay-per-view,
Right.
Paul might not see the money for 6 months, right? Isn't that
Right.
how it works
He
usually?
might not see that money, and the money at the gate got taken by this guy. So at least that's how I understood it. Like I said, I never saw it. I never saw money being taken from anywhere. You know what I'm saying? But that's what it was well understood when he came to those pay-per-views. He was taking the money from the gate. And that's what was pretty much known throughout the locker room. You know, that's what I was told. That's how I reacted to it. So
Plus, like the video game stuff and like all that other stuff that in toys, you don't see that money right away. Maybe WWE does with their licensing and all the other stuff, but
right,
ECW, it's probably you have to like wait, see if it sells. You know,
yeah,
it's one of those things where it's sometimes good to get in that business, but it's not always financially lucrative and profitable right away.
yeah, right. And then, you know, even for us for the video games, we never saw money for those video games, but we're in them, which is pretty cool. So you either got no pay or you didn't have to be in it. So that was really what it was.
It's funny, like WWE, if you're in that game, I'm sure you get some sort of like
Yeah,
license check or whatever
yeah.
the heck they call it. Yeah.
Well, a totally different company too, though. You know, I
Yep.
mean, ECW was a renegade company and run by a renegade boss. You know, and things were different. You know, and times were different back then too. I mean, man, you know, 20 something years ago doesn't seem that far away, but you know, it was different, and not everyone was contracted. You know, a lot of guys were on handshake agreements still. You know, and it was tough at some points. You know.
What did you think of Paul? I would love to ask the ex ECW guys that, like, what they think of him. Was he a genius? Like, what do you think about Paul?
Yeah, I think Paul was a genius, but I think he was a genius in the fact that a lot of guys fed him ideas also, and not that, you know, he would come up with something. I think Raven says it the best too. You know, like Raven would say how, you know, Paul would come up with something, and maybe like him and Tommy would be, you know, doing the match, and they'd say, well, Paul, what if we did this? You know, and if Paul liked it, Paul went with it. You know, that's where Paul's genius was too, is that he didn't fight guys on what they, you know, if it sounded good, well, shit, let's do it and see if it works out the way that you're actually thinking it's going to work out, you know. And maybe there's times where it was Paul's way that it worked out that way, you know. So he was definitely a genius, but you know, you also, I think it also comes off of feeding off of other people too. It wasn't only his brain, it was multiple brains. And I think that's what actually takes somebody to do that.
So, like a collaboration with some guys, and he's an
Yeah.
open-minded type of guy.
Open-minded genius, without a
Yeah.
doubt. Yeah, but Paul, to me, I love Paul. I mean, Paul, you know, Paul's the guy that gave me my first shot. He gave me my first real break in this business, and I don't ever forget that. You know, was I owed money at the end? Sure. Was I lied to? Sure. But I still respect the fact that that's the guy that gave me my shot. So that's how I always feel about it.
It's almost like he gave you the opportunity. He did kind of screw you a little bit, but you wouldn't have had the opportunity had he not given it to you. So
Right.
one of those things, almost
It's
like
one
one
of those
hand
things.
wash the other.
Yeah.
Yeah. So some people, though, will argue and say, "Oh, he's not a genius. He's a terrible businessman. This and that." What do you think about like?
He is a terrible businessman. That doesn't mean you're not a genius, though.
Right. You
You
could
know,
well, you could be good creatively or like with people, but on the other hand, maybe not so much. Like
right,
Vince may be the opposite. Vince is great with business, Vince McMahon, and maybe the creative
right,
stuff maybe is a little iffy.
right. Well, I think that's the thing with Vince. Like, not only is he a genius, also I think he is. You know, the guy's very brilliant, very smart, but I also think he doesn't like to listen to people. So it's his way or no way. So where I think Paul said, "Well, fuck, maybe that will work. Let's try it." You know, I think there's times where that happened with Vince, without a doubt, but that were the good years. That was the attitude years.
Yeah. He had to almost. It's like, all
Yeah.
right, my ideas aren't working. I
Yeah.
have to listen to somebody else or I'm going to lose my business here.
Well, I was around in WWF at that point. I was around Scott Hall. I was around Shawn Michaels. Those guys would tell us stories all the time of how, yeah, we're getting Vince's ear and we're talking to Vince. And I mean, we all know how it all played out. We know what the click was. I was right there in the middle of that stuff, hearing the stories, living that actually as it happened. I was not part of the click, but I hung out with those dudes, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
What's that like backstage with those guys?
Uh, like I said, there's guys that take you under their wing. Scott Hall was one of those guys, man. Scott would give me and Mike Bell advice all the time, and PJ. PJ same things. Shawn Michaels same way, but Scott really did, man. Scott was like, he was like the big brother to us, which is really cool. And I don't know why he didn't have to do it, but he liked us and he helped us out. He tell us things, and same with Shawn. And it was really really cool to learn from those guys. Even though I guess the rest of the locker room hated them, we didn't.
What's it like to party with those guys?
I wasn't much of a drinker, but back then I drank a little bit with them. I go to the bar, we'd hang out, we'd drink. It was always pretty just social back then. It'd be after the show at the bar at the hotel. So it never really got too crazy during those TV times. I'm sure. All those other stories are, when those guys are on the road doing house shows and Vince is not around, and that's when they really let loose. So,
That's pretty cool though, hanging out with them. I mean, that's awesome.
yeah, well, shit, when, they were talking over their WrestleMania 10 ladder match, and we were in, New York City, and me and Mike Bell are hanging out in their hotel room, and they're talking this match over. And we were giggling like little schoolgirls. And I don't remember if it was Shawn or Scott, like, what are you guys laughing about? We're like, this is fucking awesome. and that's before anybody knew how great that match was going to be. We were just there the night before listening to it. So it was pretty fucking cool, man.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I was in the building that night as a fan.
Oh,
WrestleMania
nice.
10 was awesome. Yeah, MSG.
Yeah.
18 rows back. Not
Yeah.
bad.
I was doing the dunk booth that whole weekend.
Oh, with
I was
the
one of the
first real WrestleMania convention, really.
Yeah. That was me, Mike Bell, and Phil Apollo. We all three of us played Doink.
Whoa, nice.
Good
Yeah.
paydays. We did that for WrestleMania 10 and 11.
Damn, look at that.
Yeah.
Who
So
knew?
I've been booked for 2 WrestleManias. Never appeared on either one of them.
Who knew? Like, that's interesting. Be like, yeah, I was at WrestleMania 10 and 11. What? Yep,
Yeah.
work backstage. Yeah.
Work
Or,
backstage.
work the
Work the clown.
conventions. And,
Yeah.
yeah, we was a clown. Yeah.
Yeah. We were Doink the Clown.
Cool gimmick. There's been so many doinks. It's crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Especially in New Jersey, New York. Oh, forget
Yeah.
about
And
it.
I still got the whole costume too. I still have it in the closet.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Damn.
I've done it for Halloween a couple times.
That's awesome. Is
Yeah.
it like the official True Blue Ray Apollo Matt
Yeah,
Bourne
the only
outfit?
thing they didn't have, if you go back and look at it, like they didn't put the sleeves on them, and they were like shorts instead of actual pants. So that's the whole costume's exactly the same, because the girls made it. The girls that were making the costumes back then, that's who was making it. So they made all that stuff.
That's pretty damn cool. Didn't
Yeah.
even realize that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I know maybe Doink wasn't a big break, but the Baldies was a big break. How did that like all come to fruition? It's like, okay, we like this guy, but now we're going to give him something. We're going to actually use
Yeah.
him, and we're going to put him on TV and pay-per-views and everything else.
Yeah, well, I was talking to another I forget what podcast I was on, but so similar question came up, and I really believe it was like, for all the guys that were in it. So it was myself, it was Angel, Big Vito, and a couple of the other guys, which
PN News once in
everybody
a
was
while.
in and out.
Yeah.
Rod Price was in it, but Rod, PN News, but these guys were kind of in and out kind of quick. Rod was only in it for, I don't even remember, maybe a couple shows we did with Rod Price, and then I think he was done with the company after that. But you know, Rod's original Baldy. But anyway, I was doing. They wanted me to do like an American History X gimmick, which, if you know what that is, that was like a skinhead movie, and
Yep.
I was like, that's what they want me to be. I was like, all right, I guess I'll do it. So I started acting that way. Angel, they were having Angel do. He was like, you know, the Spanish Angel thing still, and you know, his was kind of similar. And Vito was, you know, doing the skull gimmick, and I don't know. I think none of our gimmicks maybe worked the way that Paul envisioned them at first, you know, giving me the Malcolm X, not Malcolm X, American History X thing, and Angel this and Vito that. I think he just kind of combined everything and made us the Baldies. I mean, we're all bald, we're all had similar looks, and I think all three gimmicks that we were doing separately, Paul just kind of combined them. So I know that was his idea to do that, put us all together. So that's how I really believe the Baldies gimmick came up. You know, I know he came up with it. You know, it comes from Fordham Road Baldies, you know, which is an original gang, and it comes from the Wanderers movie, and it comes from the Warriors. You know,
I was going to say Warriors. Yeah.
right.
Come out
So,
and play. Yeah.
right. So both those movies combined, that's where Paul came up with it, and you know, we were the people that made it happen for him. So that's how it all came together.
Did you care like, oh, this is kind of like a gang or skinhead thing, or you're like, who cares? I'm on TV and I got a gimmick.
Yeah, I didn't care. I didn't even care it was a skinhead thing. I was like, wow, my boss, whose mother was in like a
concentration camp,
Jewish concentration camp, and he's Jewish, and he wants me to be he wants me to be a skinhead. I was like, that's a little strange, but I guess I don't care. I'm going to do it. You know. So when the whole Baldies thing came around, same thing. We were like, yeah, I don't care. First of all, my father rented the Wanderers movie years and years before that, and I watched that movie so many friggin' times. So I was familiar with the Fordham Road Baldies. I knew the gang, and then of course the Warriors movie, and you know, so I was very familiar with that. So I was on board. I was like, yeah, this is cool.
So really kind of a main feud was New Jack, and really kind of you guys feuding with him. What'd you think about working with him? I know you said you like Snug and stuff.
Yeah.
Seemed like maybe he was kind of the definition of working Snug.
New Jack was never hurt us in the ring. I know Jack's hurt people in the rings before. I know he's stabbed people. I know he's, you know, tried to beat the shit out of that Gypsy Joe guy. And, you know, but Jack was not like that with us. Jack, especially with me and Angel, he liked me and Angel, Angel especially. And I think he liked me because, you know, I had been in the business a while, but I was real respectful for him. You know, whatever he wanted to do, we did. We listened. He wanted us to do it. We just did it. Yeah, I never had an issue with Jack. Never. Was never scared to work with him. Never hurt me. I broke my hand in the ring with Jack, but that wasn't his fault. So
I was at a show once with PJ. This is obviously years after ECW, but New Jack was walking around with this big, like, gigantic knife, almost like a machete knife. I was like,
yeah,
shit. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, that's the same knife he pulled out on Grimes. Told him he was going to slit his throat.
Jesus, yeah. I guess him and Vic Grimes didn't get along very well.
Well, I mean, he fell on him off that scaffolding in Connecticut. So, yeah.
And then in XPW, they actually just showed it on documentary the other night. I remember the scaffold match because my friend had all the DVDs, but he literally throws him off the scaffold after he tasered him. So his body is almost like lifeless.
Oh, yeah, he tried to kill him, and he even said it. He said, I tried to fucking kill him that night. So it didn't happen because Bumbles bounce. So it didn't happen.
Yeah. Luckily, though, bounced. He almost perfectly.
Vic Grimes got very lucky that night. He got lucky both nights. He got lucky the night in Connecticut, and he got lucky the night of that scaffold match because Jack wanted to fucking kill him.
Yeah. Do you still talk to Vic Grimes at all? Or was he kind of super religious now?
The first I just saw of him is Angel actually just posted some. There's this guy out there making figures, and he made a figure of me and Angel and Grimes apparently. So Angel just posted it last night on his social media page. So that's the first. And Grimes was on there. He tagged Grimes in it, so I just checked him out. So I sent him a friend request. We'll see if it happens.
I think he's religious now. Not that that's
that's what
good, bad, and good, bad, and different. Just seems like that's the path that he's gone down.
Yeah, well, if it's true, great, good for him. You know.
Did you get along with him back then? I know
Uh,
obviously New Jack didn't, but
it's funny, man, because I got along with. It's weird. It's like he was two different guys. You know, he was Vic Grimes, but he was also TJ. And TJ was a real nice guy. Vic Grimes is a fucking asshole. You know, Vic Grimes was not that he was an asshole. He was a clueless person in the wrestling business. He was clueless. He just thought he can go out and just do whatever he wanted. Didn't know why he couldn't do certain things. You know, wrestling wise, he was just. We had a lot of disagreements. So, but I like him as a guy. You know, I liked him as a regular person. He was a good dude. Just not as Vic Grimes.
yeah. It's funny, a lot of wrestlers, it almost seems like not schizophrenic, but they definitely do two different personalities. Like, okay, away from the ring, I'm nice. In the ring, I'm going to hurt you. I don't care. Backstage, I can be cordial. But yeah, it's definitely two different personalities almost with wrestlers
Yeah, it's
sometimes.
kind of weird. I don't believe I was ever that way, but I don't know. Maybe I was. I don't know.
Was New Jack, like you said, you got along with stuff, but was he as crazy as we all thought he was? Like,
Oh, fuck yeah. Yeah, he was crazy. I mean, you know, the stories he would tell. I mean, every story you've heard about New Jack is true. So, and he would never deny it. You know, he would never deny any of those stories. So they're all true. It's all true.
because PJ was always saying like, "Oh, he's so nice and stuff." I was like,
He
"Yeah,
is.
maybe to you, but not to Gypsy
Yeah,
Joe."
right.
And
But you know, he thought, you know, I guess the whole thing too is that I guess I heard something about it. And Dreamer was, you know, after he passed away, I think Dreamer was talking on his podcast about it. And you know, he's like, I guess he asked him, whatever happened with Joe that night? He goes, Tommy, I didn't know it was his gimmick not to sell. He wasn't selling my shit. So I had to beat him up. I believe it. I believe that's New Jack. Yeah.
yeah,
Listen, have you ever seen Bernie Mac?
oh yeah, yeah.
Fucking Bernie Mac and New Jack are the same guy. Same fucking guy. Just that personality that you saw Bernie Mac on the screen, that was New Jack in the locker room. That was New Jack in person. He was fucking Bernie Mac, man. He was great. New Jack was great.
It's funny, Gypsy Joe did really have that gimmick back in the day. Like he would no sell everybody,
Right.
but I could see New Jack be like, what's this guy doing? What
Well,
the
how would
fuck?"
how would he know that? I
Right,
never heard of Gypsy Joe before that match.
right,
So,
right. You got to be like a hardcore fan, or you got to be a real
yeah,
mark or whatever,
yeah.
like to know that stuff. Yeah.
To know that, yeah, sure.
So with ECW and like it's going along, are you sensing that the business is headed like in a downward spiral, or is everything going along good and you're thinking, okay, this is a great spot permanently?
I mean, I always just thought it was going to be a great spot permanently. I think we all thought that. Yeah, we've got some bounce checks, but I had bounce checks right when I mean, you think I would have known better, but right when I started
Right.
with the company, I think my first ever check was bounced. You know,
Oh
so
my God.
yeah,
Not a good sign.
not a good sign. But it cleared up after that. You know what I'm saying? Everything was good for a while, and then you know, towards the end, we started getting bounce checks again. But but I always thought too, well, shit, those, you know, he made up on that first one ever. So hopefully he'll make up on these, you know, and, you know, everybody knows the stories behind it. You know, we got a lot of pep talks. Paul can, you know, he can talk, man. He can talk and you believe him, you know, because why would he lie to us? So, you know, you believe the guy and, you know, it sucks because it, you know, ended up going out of business, man. And that really sucked. But that's why I did the things I've always done. You know, I went out and got a job. Always had to get a regular job. You know, I got a shoot job and I earned my money and I wrestled on the side still. So
But you're smart and responsible. Some of the other guys probably weren't.
yeah, some of the other guys weren't, you know, and it sucks because to this day they're still struggling. And you're talking 20 years since ECW went out of business, almost 21 years. So it's a long time to be struggling still. You know, I knew right away. I had a family. I always had a family. When I started wrestling, my son was born right in the beginning of my wrestling career. I just started training, and I had a family since day one. It's one of the reasons why I never traveled too far away. I never went to do Memphis, or I never went to California, or I never went to Puerto Rico. And you know, I had my family, and I just couldn't do that. I could do my weekend trips. That was fine, you know, but I couldn't go away for 3, 4, 5 months at a time, leave my family home. I couldn't do that. So I always took care of them. And I knew once ECW ended, I had to go right back into supporting them. I had to get a job. And throughout the rest of my career, Ring of Honor, everything else, I always had a shoot job. I had to make that money. So I couldn't rely just on wrestling. And that's another reason why I never even tried other things. I never went to TNA, never did it. I couldn't devote that time to that one particular thing and leave my family high and dry. I couldn't do that. So,
because it seems like, and you're mentioning that, and I'm like thinking, I was like, man, it seems like why wasn't Devito here? Why wasn't Devito there? Kind of answers that. It's because it's like everybody else ended up in TNA, not
yeah,
everyone, but like they were doing the ECW thing, and it's
yeah.
like, what the hell's Devito doing all this? Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, that's one of the main reasons. For us as the Baldies, a big thing too. Angel moved to Kansas, so Kansas kind of fucked everything up. I don't know why anyone would choose to move to Kansas willingly. I have no idea. To this day, I still question his motives behind it. I thought they were going to throw a big noose over a tree and hang him one day. Because it's fucking Kansas.
Yeah. That is weird. And he's like a cop or whatever. It's like, what, Angel? What the hell?
Yeah, I know. It's fucking crazy.
I forget his story, like how he ended up there. Like
he met a fat rat. No, he met a fat rat.
Uh-oh.
That was it. He loves fat girls, man. That's it.
See, he lied to me, and he told me that the bus, or not the bus, excuse me, the plane, he got stopped in Kansas. He ended up liking it there. He never left. That's what he told
Fuck
me.
him. He's a lying motherfucker, man. He met some fat girl that lived there. That's all it was.
Wow, Angel, what a liar. What a worker.
He loves the fat rats, bro. Big, huge ass. He's like, with the cheese. He's right in on it, bro.
That's great. Yes, I'm going to have to bust his balls about that. That's great.
Yeah.
Damn, look at that. Yeah, why did he screw it up for the Baldies? Like, man.
I don't know. I don't know why he screwed it up. I mean, listen, it was hard enough. I had to be the Shawn Michaels of the Baldies. I was the Shawn Michaels of the Carnage crew. I mean, I've struggled throughout my career, man, carrying guys all the time.
Yeah, damn.
That's what it is.
So with the Carnage crew, obviously Loke is in Ring of Honor first, and Gabe's a former assistant to Paul.
Yeah,
they're starting ROH. Gabe loved you. He said you're one of his favorite brawlers. He loved you in ECW. Loke gets you in to
yeah.
ROH?
So it's funny because Loke, they bring Loke in, I think, at the first show, and I think he refereed that night because he was a Scream official in ECW. So I think he refereed that night. But I think at the end, another guy I trained, this guy Sledge, ended up tagging with Loke, and I don't know if it was that night or the second show. Loke knows this story better than I do because I don't remember anything. But I was either on the second or third Ring of Honor show. I can't remember, but supposedly they wrestled a match and they just shit the bed. And Paul just didn't. Not Paul. I'm sorry. Gabe did not like Sledge one bit. He loved. I think
it gets cut from the DVD. I think.
Yeah, I think he did. I think the history of Sledge is cut out of Ring of Honor. But anyway, he just did not like him. He didn't like them as a tag team. He didn't like anything. And I guess he said to Loke that night, he's like, I don't like your fucking partner. What are we going to do? And he goes, well, what about Devito? And he goes, fuck, Devito. And that was it. And Gabe called me, and that's how I got to Ring of Honor. So that was that. Because if you remember at the time, there were not many ECW guys there at all. Because Gabe did not want it to be ECW light or ECW number 2, or, he didn't want that. So he didn't want to bring in all these ECW guys, but somehow, luckily I got the spot. So he just liked, for that team, I fit well.
Seemed like the perfect fit. You and Loke just go perfect together. And Carnage Crew, that name seems perfect. Did you come up with the name?
No, I hated that name. Gabe came up with it, and I hated it. And he goes, well, what else do you want it to be? And I was like, I don't fucking know. And that was it. I didn't come up with anything else. I'm not very imaginative when it comes to names and things like that. So I like to just go out there and fight. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not the creative one. That's for sure.
Yeah, really, for like ECW guys, it was like Loke and Carino were like the only guys that were there at first.
Yeah.
Eventually, he'd bring in more.
Was Carino even there before I was? I don't remember.
Actually, I think he's after you, but then he started doing some commentary, and sometimes he'd phone in the commentary and stuff like that.
Commentary, yeah. I think Loke was the first one, then me, and then, then of course there was a influx of guys that came in and out. I know Raven came in, Tommy Dreamer came in.
Whipwreck for a little bit.
Yeah, Whipwreck. I mean, there's a bunch, I guess, but no one really stayed. They were kind of one shot type of things.
Did you like what he was doing with you as far as the gimmick, like, feuding with Special K, but you guys are the brawlers, you guys are the tough guys. You're basically, like Dick the Bruiser and the Crusher just beating the shit out of people.
Yeah, I loved it because we were the veterans working with the young guys, and the reason that Gabe put us with Special K is because there was a lot of green guys in that group. I can't remember everybody's names, but
Jay Lethal.
Jay Lethal, Dizzy,
Cheech, Cloudy.
Well, Cheech was my guy anyway, but that even before that,
Azrael,
and all these guys they were just starting out, and those guys have been around a little bit. I think Dixie and Azrael, and they were around for a little bit longer. But some of the newer guys, like Jay, didn't know anything at that point. He's brand new, and a couple other guys too. So, he wanted us to work with them because he wanted us to show them how to work. Not just go out there and do these matches, but he wanted us to show this is how you work a match. This is how you do psychology, and this is what you do. And that's what our job was in Ring of Honor. Loke became like the first agent there. He's like an agent. I wasn't an agent, but I was a veteran in the locker room, and we worked with so many of those young guys basically we were the veterans, man. It was our turn to work with these young kids and teach them. And it was awesome. I loved it. I really did love it. I loved my time in Ring of Honor. It was great.
Man, I used to go to so many of those shows, sometimes with PJ, sometimes
Yeah.
not. But man, I used to love those shows. They were just because WWE at that point was really, I don't know, wasn't what I was really looking for as a fan. And then Ring of Honor comes with Bryan Danielson and
Right.
Punk, and I
Right.
love the Carnage crew. Then Dusty would be teaming up with you guys randomly. It was like a dream. The Steamboat would show up, and it's like, man, like very cool. And I feel like Gabe did a great job booking.
Yeah.
Too.
Oh, he did, man. And Gabe also, a little like Paul, especially with, I don't know how much he did it for the other guys, but guys like me and Loke and some of the guys that were more veterans, Chris Daniels, probably Brian, all these guys, we had a lot of creative freedom. We could say, hey, Drew, hey, Gabe, how about this or that, and Gabe listened, and Gabe would do a lot of stuff. Sometimes Gabe wanted the way Gabe wanted it, and that was cool too. But there was times we put our input in there. I always put my input no matter what, whether he took it or he didn't take it. I always put it in there. I say I'm not creative. I'm really not creative, but there are times where I want to work with certain guys, or I want to do a certain angle with certain guys, and I can push me towards that angle, and then I want, you got to grab it and run from there with me, but I'll do the work. You come up with the creative part, but this is what I'm thinking, type of thing. And Gabe listened a lot. He really did.
What did you think about finally getting the tag titles and winning the tag titles? Because sometimes guys are like, it means nothing, but it's awesome to kind of have it on the resume. Like even in the beginning of the episode, Ring of Honor, former tag team champion. I think it's pretty awesome. Like just resume wise and looking back.
It is awesome. So these guys that tell you that it doesn't mean anything, they're full of shit because they're all fucking marks. So they're full of shit. Well, they are, because these guys won't tell you the way it is. Anytime you get a belt, and I don't care if it's an indie belt, like this little fucking indie down the street or whatever, if somebody gives you the belt, it means something. It fucking means something. I know it's a prop. I know it's not for real, but it means something to that guy. So it means something to you. And if you don't take it like that, I think you're doing an injustice to what that title is. You should take it seriously. For me, Ring of Honor was a legit company. So winning the tag team titles there was a huge milestone in our career, mine and Loke's, especially for me. I thought it was great. I think we deserved it. And I don't think we deserved it like some of these other guys that get belts nowadays. I mean, if you want to talk about belts nowadays, maybe they don't mean anything anymore because they are just given to whoever and back and forth and this and that. And maybe it doesn't mean anything, but to me, it means something to have that belt. It does.
And the way Gabe booked it, obviously, you guys beat Jacobs and Whitmer and everything, but the way he booked Ring of Honor wasn't like the titles get thrown around all the time either. He was pretty methodical about title changes.
Right. Yeah. And it was, Jacobs said, because at that point, Moff was there, and then Moff left for a while.
Yes.
Because we were feuding with Moff and Whitmer for a while.
Yes.
So, it's funny, like you said before, Steamboat and all so it's cool. I mean, I got to work with Steamboat there. I got to work with Dusty there. I got to work with Mick Foley there. There's some big fucking stars we got to work with while we were in Ring of Honor. It was pretty cool. Bobby Heenan came through at one point. And that was great.
Cornette came through a bunch of
Yeah.
times.
I
Yeah.
don't know if I was there when Cornette was there. I can't remember.
Trying to remember. Well, he was there for the Midnight Express reunion in '04. You were definitely there for that one.
I was there.
When they had all those guys. You're forgetting, yeah.
My
Ricky
time
Morton was there.
terrible.
Yeah, good stuff. It was good stuff.
But you know what was great about Carnage Crew too is that we were able to get PJ booked with us as Carnage Crew. You know, PJ was my best friend in the wrestling business without a doubt. PJ was my number one dude, and to be able to get him into the Carnage Crew with us and work shows with us at Ring of Honor, that was awesome, dude. To be able to team up with my brother like that, me and Loke, we were honored to do it, man. It was great.
That was awesome. That was so cool to have him. And remember his debut back in like '03, got one of the biggest pops that I've ever heard in ROH. They went nuts when he showed up.
And where was that, Murphy Rec at the time or no?
Was that Murphy Rec or was that when you guys were in Boston? It might have been when you guys went to Boston for a few shows.
Yeah, I can't remember which one it was.
Huge pop. It was awesome. But just even throwing Masada in there, it's just a cool group of guys that were kick ass.
It's kind of funny, man. Like, you know, my Baldies team, similar. Carnage Crew, similar. It was just, you know, we'd bring guys in, guys come in, come out, come in, come out. It was kind of weird that both teams were like that for me.
Yeah, definitely. So as we wind it down, we head towards the finish. As far as like WB, ECW, I know you made some brief appearances there. Was there ever going to be anything long term as far as WB and like that new ECW?
Yeah, it's so, you know, Dreamer, once again, you know, Dreamer's been great in my wrestling career. So ECW, and then he got me booked to do the first thing. So I came in and did the Macho Libre thing. So I was on the second show. And, you know, I came in, I cut that promo, and we just did whatever. And it was fine. You know, everything was great. And then, you know, he called me back again to come do the Preacher thing. So I went to do the Preacher thing. And that was in Philly on the 4th of July. That part I remember. And, you know, sitting out in the crowd, people recognized me and, you know, they knew who I was. But, you know, that was great, man. But after that show, you know, that whole thing we did, you know, we had to rehearse the whole thing. You know, Vince was right there with us. It was me, Sandman, Vince, you know, and they give you lines to read and all this bullshit. And, but from the story I know, of course, I was doing it. I was living it. So I don't know what happened behind the scenes, but from what I know behind the scenes, Vince McMahon was going crazy on the headset during the whole segment. He fucking loved it. I mean, they gave me tickets. I put the tickets like in the breast pocket, and if you watch it, they come over, like, I don't know, security comes over, and I go, I have tickets, and I just whip them out and I start doing all this stuff, and Vince fucking went crazy for it. So, and he's on the headset, so all the production people here and anybody that's on headset, Gorilla, this and that. So, you know, that segment ends, you know, they walk me up through the thing, and Paul Heyman met me, and Paul fucking goes, you need to go see Vince McMahon right fucking now. And I was like, well, where is he? And he's like, he's a Gorilla. So he walked me all the way back to Gorilla, because where they brought me out was like on the other side of the building, up on the second floor, some bullshit. So he brings me to Vince, and Vince McMahon hugs me. He tells me how fucking great it was. I mean, that was fucking great. And he's hugging me. And I, like I said, I guess he went like, as I found out later on, Paul had told me, yeah, Vince was going crazy on headset. So I got a bonus night that night, which was really awesome too.
Awesome.
They gave me a bonus. Yeah. Now, as far as that, the next week, Tommy Dreamer calls me up. They're going to tape that night. And he calls me that day. And he goes, I said, hey, what's up, Tom? He goes, yeah, we got a problem. I said, what's going on? He goes, you're booked tonight. And I go, I'm booked. I said, I'm sitting home. You guys are in, like, I don't know where they were. They were nowhere near my house. They were flying distance away. I go, I'm sitting at my house. He goes, yeah, I know. He goes, they wrote you into the storylines. I was like, are you shitting me? He goes, yeah. He goes, they think you're part of the company. And I go, well, that's fucking awesome. What are we doing? But I don't know what happened. I mean, as far as I knew, I was supposed to they were going to tag up Justin Credible and C.W. Anderson, and they were going to be the new Impact players. And I was supposed to be their manager. And that's what they were going to do with us. And it never happened.
Damn,
never happened.
For all that. Damn.
Yeah. Well, because then I think the week after was the Hammerstein Ballroom. And I think, was that Punk's debut?
Most likely, yes.
I was booked on that show because Tommy goes, well, I'm going to book you for this next show and bring you in. And then when I came in, I'm in the locker room. And like I said, all the production people were on headset. So they all were coming up to me. Hey, Father, how are you? Because I was doing the priest that night.
Yeah.
So they didn't know what to call me. They all just assumed I had a job because of the way Vince reacted. And I didn't know any of these production people because, they're not, you don't see these guys. I mean, you see them, but you don't know their names. They're all over the place.
Right.
So yeah, it was pretty crazy. I mean, I thought I was going to get a job, and it just didn't. It still did not happen.
Did Dreamer or Paul ever explain to you like what happened, or no?
Dreamer explained some stuff to me years later. So
Politics involved?
Yeah, politics.
Somebody didn't want you to have that spot.
Somebody didn't want any of the ECW guys to have a spot anymore.
Ah, okay.
Any of the originals, and as you knew, all the originals were gone from ECW. All of them. Sandman, RVD, Sabu. I mean, RVD had a job for as long as he wanted it, but and Sabu got busted with the weed that night with
yeah.
yeah, with RVD. But I mean, think about it. All those, Doring and Roadkill. Guido got they put him to reffing eventually. I don't know how CW Anderson. There were so many guys. PJ. There were so many guys that were hired that at a certain they cut all the originals out of the show, all of them. So and then they all eventually got fired. So I never even got hired to get fired. I just got cut out right away.
Damn.
So, yeah, it kind of sucks because that's what I was striving for my whole career. I loved ECW too. I have no regrets with any of my career. I loved ECW. I loved my position. I loved Ring Honor. But, my goal was always to be a contracted guy in WWF and WWE, I should say. And, that part came up a little short, So I'm always a little bummed out, but I have no regrets, man. I had a great career. I had a great time. I've made it further than a lot of people have. And that's the way I look at things, And I'm not disgruntled about it, man. I had a great career.
Hell of a resume if you go back and look. The
Not
WB
bad.
stuff. Yeah, the ROH Tag Champ, ECW Original. Pretty damn good resume looking back.
Yeah, not bad. I trained a lot of people too, man. Not only the guys you trained. I used to go to the warehouse. So when they were training Draws, we were the first guys me, Mike Bell, we'd go work out with Draws on a Tuesday afternoon, and we'd do matches with him with Dr. Tom. They brought Lawrence Taylor in for WrestleMania 11. We worked out with Lawrence Taylor. The Truth Commission, Edge, a fake Undertaker, Brian Lee. We worked out with Brian Lee. We were his first matches on TV.
Wow.
We did all that stuff in the warehouse in Connecticut. That was pretty cool, man. Just going to that warehouse back in that time, that was fucking cool, man. So much stuff was in that place. We would just walk around and look at everything and the old sets and props and stuff. That place is fucking cool.
That's awesome. Do they call you in and say, "Hey, we need some guys. Like we need you guys to help"? Yeah,
well, they knew we were local. Like Tony Gurria knew we were local guys. Tony was great to us. He was like our guy there, and Tony was fantastic to us, and he'd book us for those things.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Great paydays too.
Yeah. One final thing I wanted to mention. It's funny. Years ago at the ECW arena, CZW, I'm there with PJ. Obviously, you're there with your guys, Massive and Cheech. You guys are wrestling, and Joe Frazier, Smoking Joe, used to go to all the shows. He's walking around. He sees me. I'm like, oh my God, Smoking Joe. I go to shake my hand. Massive, who obviously is massive, way bigger than me. Not realizing, I thought he made eye contact with me. I guess Massive thought it was with him.
Right.
Goes, shakes Smoking Joe's hand. Smoking Joe turns around, and I was like, I never got to shake.
And you
Smoking
never got
Joe.
it? Oh.
Nope, Massive screwed me, so I never forget that.
Wow. Fuck,
bastard.
Man.
Yeah, bastard. Damn.
He is a bastard.
Smoking Joe's a god right there, and
I know.
Cut me off.
That was for a CZW show?
Was it CZW? I believe it was CZW. He used to always just randomly show up in Philly to these horrible shows.
Yeah.
And I remember it was Carnage Crew against God knows whoever CZW put you guys against, but.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't remember. I've worked a couple CZW shows, I guess, but I don't remember them all.
They're nothing to remember anyway. There are a lot of them are forgettable.
Well, that's the funny thing too. I think my first ever CZW show, I teamed up with New Jack. That's another time I teamed with New Jack. And
wow, weird pairing.
Yeah, it was me and Jack against Wife Beater and Zandig.
Oh, nice team there. Love
Yeah.
Xandu. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to tell you that match I was a little nervous about because I thought I was going to have to.
Shoot.
I thought I was going to have to throw hands with those guys because if that fucking asshole got that weed whacker and tried to hit me with it, I was going to fucking shoot on him.
Man, I don't know why that was like wife beater's gimmick or whatever, but what a weird thing. And he'd really turned that thing on. Like, what a nut.
Dude, he fucking messed up a lot of people with that weed whacker. Fuck that.
Yeah. And he's a big boy too. So it's like, fuck.
I'm not doing weed whackers. I'm not doing glass.
How did that turn out that night?
It was okay, actually. None of that stuff came out. We just brawled, and that was really it. So that was fine.
Nice.
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah.
And wife beater's a big boy too.
Yeah, well, even Xanday was a big dude.
Oh, he's big, yeah.
You know, they're all bigger than me. I'm just a shooter. They don't know it.
Good call. So before we let you go, is there anywhere where you want fans, like social media, anywhere you want to plug or anything like that?
No, I have a private page, so I don't do a fan page. I mean, people can try to request me, but I probably won't accept it. No offense. It's just what it is.
Got to keep your privacy.
Yeah. I mean, I just, I'm not looking to do much anymore. So, and if I can get booked on something, I'll let Loker Angel hook me up. So
that's good call.
It's good to be the Sean of both teams.
Yes. So the HBK of the Baldies and the Carnage crew.
And the Carnage crew. That's why my back is out, because I had to carry two of those fat bastards my whole career.
Yep, especially Angel.
Angel.
But Devito, thank you so much for all the time. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. I had a good time.